potential elemental evolution. Nothing can keep you from your potential elemental evolution. Potential elemental evolution. Nothing can keep you from your potential elemental evolution.
Welcome everyone to this week's Elemental Evolution. As always, I hope that you've had a fantastic week. It's been an interesting one for myself. And I think that a lot of people have been experiencing either some type of a cleansing, either on a physical or on a mental level, almost to the point of where either they're in a point of acceptance of whatever's going on, or they're really going to push forward. It seems like the energies that came through were very... they were magnificent, but it was a catalyst, it seemed, for people that were stuck maybe on certain levels that have been searching. Maybe it pushed us a little bit over the hump that we were experiencing. And so today I have with me somebody who I really enjoy talking about exactly these kinds of things with. And so I hope you'll all help me welcome Hamid. Are you there?
Yes, Hamid is here, and yeah, I'm very excited to have this conversation with you, Sherry, because, you know, we always have fun and talk about things that are kind of a little bit provocative.
Yeah, well, outside the box.
To provoke people.
Yeah, outside the box, kind of thought-provoking, but also, to me, when we're talking about this vibration that I've been talking about, every sign and all of the people that I've talked to in theology, religion, different aspects are all pretty much saying the same thing. I have, 2 now pretty good-sized notebooks full of all the information and all the notes that if I seriously sit down and match them all together, it's phenomenal how much they're the same.
Yeah.
And that includes even and I thought this was fascinating, in astrology, right? It's saying that now, in this time right now, the way that the planets are in rotation, we will not experience this exact experience for this next 30 days for another 12 years. Mm-hmm. It is a catalyst, right? And it's also supposed to, like, they went into this whole description of how it is the coming of this new vibration, the Christ-like vibration, the teaching of the higher consciousness, the knowing. And it's amazing how, I wish I had kept that total reading, because it was like, I just was shocked at how it matched so many of the other things I'd been hearing about, including a lot of the alien ideals as far
Right.
as returning and how that they would come out of the sun and all of these different things and how that was happening, and it would be in the time of now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that the planet is the closest, and I want to say it's Venus and Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that Jupiter, and if you think about this, and I want to hear what you think about all these things I'm saying.
Sure.
I've heard stories
Uh-huh.
of Jupiter being a planet that holds whatever life or whatever it is. And so to me, it would make sense that as it passes closest to the Earth, that would be when they would be able to actually communicate, or something would be able to reach the Wi-Fi, right? Like, you understand what I'm saying with that? It's like that's how close you have to
Well,
come.
I mean, it's like waking up from a sleep, so that finally you like maybe other people, other races, other consciousness are starting to tune into us and kind of like, oh, these humans are worth considering or something. That's one level, and then the other level is uh, the the reality is becoming so incredibly hard to disagree with. It's becoming, everything has become so stark that it's not easy to stay asleep. It's not it's not the easiest thing right now to stay asleep, because it's like things are attacking you everywhere you go, where whatever you do. When Hillary Clinton stole the elections from Bernie, and then the they were saying Democratic Party is apologizing very much to people. I was like, apologizing? And then I went to my place to pick my food, and I don't watch TV. And watching TV there was kind of like this movie Hunger Games. It's like the reality, the matrix reality of the politics and the money and the finances and everything is becoming so weird that I myself feel that I'm not really connected to that reality. It's like it's almost like a bad B movie that you like. I don't know what this is about. It's not my world. I don't know what these people are talking about. I don't know where
So
it's going.
it's just so interesting that you're saying it that exact way, because that's
Yeah.
exactly. I spent a couple of weeks ago. I went to California to see my friend, and she pretty
Mm-hmm.
much said the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's we know that it's going on. We know
Mm-hmm.
that all these things are going on, but somehow it's like we're watching it as opposed to actually living in that reality somehow. Like we've got a foot in each side, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think this catalyst that's hitting now
Mm-hmm.
is pushing us is past that. I want to say hump, but it's like, and maybe, and tell me if you've been experiencing this. It seems like for me, in the last 2 weeks, I've had some serious shit hit me in the face that could take me to some very low vibrations.
Well, I mean, I have a different way, but I was pretty sick last week, and I got sick out of nowhere. I just like got this cold, and I had no idea where I got the cold from. And then one night it was so heavy that, and I probably have told you, but I haven't been to a doctor in more than 20 years. So, and the thing is that it was just like, and then I usually just heal myself, and that night I put a lot of ice on myself to kind of break my fever, and I couldn't do it. I had a pretty heavy fever, and I couldn't sleep for the whole night. It was pretty bad, and it came out of nowhere. And I've been sick. I was sick for like a week, and I don't usually ever get sick, but also because I have a certain way of being in the world. I don't usually freak out when I do get sick. I just stay with it, and whatever happens, I let that vibration, whatever that vibration is, do its thing rather than trying to um, fix it or make it better or solve it or something like that. So, I'm saying to you that I didn't maybe had your situation with this vibratory thing, but my becoming sick was something, and it was came out of nowhere, and it was pretty heavy duty.
But that's kind of, to me, I mean, I think that that's part of the experience, because if you think about it, our bodies are the reflectors
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways. And so I I ended up with a cough,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up with some, like, one of my wrists is hurting, and I noticed that you had a thing on your wrist. And
Oh no, this is just I wear gloves because um,
oh,
carpal tunnel syndrome.
oh, okay. Well, I just had this weird little thing on my wrist that kind of was hurting me, which is,
Mm-hmm.
um, anyway, and it all happened in this time frame where, like I said, when I was looking at what I was doing, I am in process of taking a huge leap forward once again.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, of course, either I'm doing it or the energies or whatever you want to call it, everything's coming out of the woodworks to hit me right in the face, right?
It's almost like, I mean, this is the way I feel, and some people might feel that what I say is kind of arrogant or something, but I feel this reality is becoming less and less complicated to me. It's kind of like I'm starting to get what are the instruction manuals,
I think that's fabulous.
with the owner's manual that we somehow they forgot to give us when
Yeah.
we incarnated. Having said that, what happens, and this is how this world, this reality is created, every time we up level, like, when you play a computer game, the game also gets harder. The game, it starts having other challenges. So, uh, things that we are mastering, then the other things are coming that maybe what I am experiencing and the challenges and the problems that I need to solve. A lot of people wouldn't even know what the hell I'm talking about because they are in a different level of the game. But it's just the way it is right now. It's kind of like everything is we're getting up leveled, and when things get up leveled, problems become harder. But we are also more able to handle it. So it's interesting because this reality is becoming interesting and sort of a solvable puzzle to me, and I'd never really felt that ever. And now it's becoming more and more that way, and it's just it's an interesting sort of a feeling confidence in yourself as a player of this game rather than completely being freaked out all the time. So, I don't know. It's an interesting sort of space to be, if you know what I mean.
And so, kind of give our listeners some ideas of how you went there. I mean, I have my own ideas, but what is it? What are the techniques? How did you come from a place of kind of being involved or at least aware of the conspiracies on the planet and kind of, the direction of the planet, and how did you separate yourself from that?
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily separate. It's because that separation is the cause of so much pain, separation consciousness. It's more like you kind of see the kind of games that everybody is playing, and you're like, oh, this is the game you're playing. Good for you. I'm really not interested in your game, but cool. And to me, Sherry, the biggest thing that, and I've talked to you about this, but the biggest thing for me, the work that I do for myself and for other people, is reaching your own inner guidance and having, having your own connection to source. And when you have that connection to source, when you reach that level of, as I was telling my client the other day, it's kind of like a level of visibility. I mean, this is an interesting question because I saw this thing in this YouTube video one time, and this guy was in an iPhone line for 2 weeks. he had camped out in an iPhone line for 2 weeks to get the next iPhone.
Wow.
And they asked him, why are you in this line for such a long time? And his answer was, I don't know. And we have people who are in marriages, they are stuck in a marriage for 30 years, that they are suffering day and night. You ask them, why are you doing this? Why aren't you doing anything about your situation? And their answer is, I don't know. You see people who are working in jobs, which is a dead-end job, and it's really going nowhere. Nobody's getting anything out of this. 30 years, 20 years, 25 years, and you ask them, why are you doing this? And their answer is, again, I don't know. And when you reach a level of internal transparency, you know why you do things and why you don't do things. It's simple. I mean, when you told me you wanted to have this conversation with me today, I'm like, I enjoy Sherry. It's fun. It's going to be interesting. I have my guidance says this could be helpful for other people, so why not? So I'm not in this conversation right now with you because I don't know. But so many people, so much of the time, they don't have a fucking clue why they are doing what they're doing. And there is a matrix full of interdimensionals that are waiting for people who are in a space of not knowing what the hell they're doing so that they can lead them. So when you like, oh, I am my own master, dude, I'm really not interested in your game. And thank you very much. I appreciate you trying to tell me what to do with myself and how to live my life. But thank you, but no thank you. And it's not, and like, they have no power. They're like, sure, like, yeah. And like, they have nothing. Because when you have access to source, and source being yourself, really, and when you have access to that, and you can go ask questions from yourself and say, hey, what's the best thing to do? And then when you get the answer, and then you have access to your internal connection to source, to your personal guidance system, then it's like, oh, okay, so I'm just going to do this thing and not do this other thing. And then they can do whatever they want to do with the elections. They can do whatever they do with the economy. They can do whatever. And you're like, oh, so you guys are playing this game. How cool. Well, great. I'm really not into your game, but power to you. Like it's kind of, it becomes, the whole thing becomes so dumb. And it's really because you have access to your source and you can see things. And it's really not not rocket science, but when we don't have access to that guidance and we are constantly waiting for somebody to tell us what to do, where to go, what to say, what to think, then this reality is a goddamn maze. But when you have actually access to source, access to your own guidance, then you're like, oh, this feels good, so I'm going to do it. This doesn't feel good, so I'm not going to do it. And it's just really that easy. So, I know
it seems easy, and it sounds easy when you're saying it. And I get what you're saying, and I think you're right. It is just kind of a matter of making different choices from a different perspective. But do you think that a majority...
The thing is that I don't make choices.
Okay, explain that.
I don't really make decisions in this point of my life. I'm like, a beautiful, lovely, sophisticated woman like me, like you, comes to me and says, do you want to be in my show? I'm like, okay. It's just like my life is becoming more and more like that people invite me to something or there's an opportunity there. I'm like, do you want to be part of this? I'm like, okay. Do you want a part of this? I'm like, no. But I'm making less and less and less choices and less and less and less decisions. And I'm just going with whatever is present. And I'm a vibrational surfer. So I surf the vibration. I enjoy talking to you, Sherry. I can talk to you for hours and I don't get drained. So I have this conversation. If I have a conversation with somebody, after 2 minutes I get drained, I don't have that conversation with them. Because I'm not really living my life according to somebody else's rule book, either because it makes society happy, or some dude say 3,000 years ago in some book, or because the society likes it, or because it makes me popular. I'm like, no, I'm not beholden to any of those standards. I couldn't care less about all those things. I am a representative in my own world of all the different sub-personas that create me. And my only job is to stay true, tell the truth, stay the truth, hold my ground, and be steadfast with that. And it's not about making decisions so much or making choices.
So I think that's fascinating in so many ways. Are you familiar with the human design?
Yeah, I'm a manifester, which is only 20% of people are like that.
Ooh, Stephen is also a manifester.
Yeah, it's a bit of a painful place to be, but
well, it's kind of weird because I would have thought you to be a generator. But interesting. And so with a manifester though, so what are the rules of a manifester? Do you know?
Well, the number one rule, which is it's taken me 47 years and it's still hard for me to do, is that if you want to do anything, you better inform people before doing it.
Ooh, that is such a big deal, right? I mean, in doing the reading on generators for myself, because I'm a generator.
Right.
I found it fascinating that you do, as a manifester, you are constantly manifesting. Yes. But if you are manifesting for people that don't want it or aren't prepared for it, or it's too much for them,
right,
it's all of a sudden like it's so overpowering, it's so extreme.
Yes.
So I can totally get where that's at. And then I think that it's at some point too, where is the invitation? Is that the projector has to be invited?
I don't really know so much, but I know about manifester, and the thing about manifester is that I feel like I'm a guy who constantly wants to ride this crazy speedboat and take everybody everything. And most people were just gonna want to sit there and do nothing and ask for permission and wait for permission to do anything. And so I'm constantly want to move stuff around and move mountains around and make things happen. And most people are trying their best not to do anything, not to upset the apple cart, if you will. And my whole world is about upsetting the apple cart. But it's, when you finally learn how to do it, or at least be less jarring, people start, really considering you as something. But before they do, boy, they hate you.
Isn't that interesting? And it's almost like they have to be at a level to where they really can understand what you're talking about. I mean, when you're talking about moving mountains, like most people think, well, what does that mean? I mean, they get a vision maybe, but a manifester, give a little bit more description of what that is, because
well, for me, I just, wherever you go, whatever situation I am in, I'm always trying to see, okay, how can I improve this situation? How can I make this work better? How can this system be better? How can we solve this? How can we, I'm constantly like, I'm going to give you an example, which is a little bit sacrilegious, but you know me and you're kind of sacrilegious yourself. So I'm just going to...
I live there, but go ahead.
So I went to Ram Dass. You know Ram Dass, right?
Yeah, go.
The guy who wrote whatever, the Be Here Now thing. And I went to this conference or whatever. I was at a festival, and Ram Dass was talking, and he was going on and on and on how important it is to suffer, and suffering is important for your learning, and suffering is a big part of your learning. And is this this thing called fierce grace, where he is in a wheelchair, and he considers that fierce grace, and he considers that, you know, a learning mechanism for him. And like, Sherry, there are 400 people sitting there and watching every single thing this guy says, hanging on every word he has. And I raise my hand.
Yeah.
Like nobody else does. I raise my hand and I'm like, sir, couldn't you say that the same kind of learning is possible through joy? And he kind of looks at me and he doesn't say for anything for a few seconds, and then he finally is like, I suppose.
I suppose. There's a reality shifter for you.
That's the way I live. I'm constantly like, you know, if the emperor has no clothes, everybody's like, shh, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Nothing, you know. Emperor is fully, you know, he's dressed to the nines, Armani suit. And I'm like, hey, that dude is fat and he has no clothes on. And
he's running around naked and nobody wants to
right,
see that shit.
right. And like other people are like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Could you not see that? And I'm like, honestly, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then the other thing that I have, Sherry, which is I almost have this, I have a disability that humans have, but I have this disability, and I have an incredibly bad memory for failure. So I'm like, I did something and I failed like yesterday, and I did today, like for the 40th time, and people are like, dude, do you remember you failed at this like 60 times? And I'm like, oh no, I honestly didn't remember. Most people fail at something and they basically give up because 6 years ago I did this and I wasn't perfect and I could only score 90%. I'm not gonna do that again. Me, I'm like, dude, I don't even need to score high. I just need to succeed a little bit. And so that's just the way I live. Everything I do is like that. And, you know, I actually created a system. I kind of channeled a system that I can share with you. There are seven types of people in my system. The system that I created is that in my system, the 7 types is, one of them is experiencer. I'm an experiencer. My whole deal in this reality is I want to experience things. I want to experience more and more and more. That's why I'm here. And then there's a type of people, I called it the perfectionists. Those are the ones that would not touch anything unless they know that they're going to score like 100% at it. Otherwise, they would not touch it. They're kind of like the opposite of us experiencers because we just want to experience. Then there's those that I call the expressors or the artists, and they're the ones that constantly are expressing themselves and creating things and creating beautiful things. Then there's the intellectuals, the one, you know, that they're always constantly thinking and they're cerebral. Then there's those who are, I call them deliberates. Those are the ones that are like really, really deliberate, and they're very, very quiet and very, it's like balanced. There's a video on YouTube of this woman putting a feather and then putting tons of stuff on top of that feather because she was the ability to deliberate and be incredibly like almost like meditative and deliberate. And then there's the ones that I call warriors, which are like, you know, just they're all in their body and they all work. And the 7 type that I call the keepers, who are to just create community. And so for me, I'm an experiencer. I'm really in this reality. I'm just here to experience. I'm not here to make money so much. I'm not here to have billions of dollars. I'm just here to experience. And, right now is the time to experience. Like all the crazy stuff happening on this planet, it's amazing. It's an amazing situation, like a smorgasbord for an experiencer, if you will.
So, what are the other aspects of, because not everyone is an experiencer, or is that where everyone is really at?
No, I feel that the things that I told you, these 7 types that I created, like we have different parts of, it's like 3-4 parts to each person. I consider myself to be like 40% experiencer, maybe 30% like an expressor, and like 20% like 30% like warrior or something. So we have different things, different aspects, but like I don't consider myself a perfectionist at all. And actually, to me, perfectionism is an affliction. It's not a positive thing to be a perfectionist. It's something that keeps people away from actually taking risks and doing something with their life, because they wouldn't touch something unless they are gonna like score big. And that's not where I am with my life. I don't ever care about that. I just want to experience things. I want to enjoy life. And I'm a very visceral person. I really like sensing. I really like sensuality. I really like, from the taste of a peach to watching the sunset. Like these experiences for me, they're incredibly precious. I think Sting has a song that says, "There is no religion but dance and music. There is no religion that like color and sex and stuff like that." And to me, I really feel that. And to me, I really love this experience of physicality as a human. And I'm really not into some sort of a spiritual, emotional, or some sort of a space where, oh no, I am too evolved to experience things or want anything for experience.
So, where does the information that, because being in alchemy is bringing back nature, but you also, in my opinion, one of the things that I've admired about you is the integration, right, with technology and different aspects of things without being bombarded by what society, again, feels like, standing in line for the iPhone and all of that, but still using the new technologies. How are you integrating, and how is that a part of what's still going on?
Well, I mean, it's really not. You see, sweetheart, the deal is that when you become really clear into who you are and who you're not, what you like and what you don't like, you clear understanding of your boundaries and what doesn't define you. I mean, I told you that I've gone to Burning Man 13 times, and I've been to Burning Man 13 times, and when I was there, and I go to so many parties, and when I go to parties, I'm always offered drugs. I'm also offered alcohol, and I probably have told you this, but I've never been drunk in my life. I've never smoked even pot. I've never smoked. I've never been high or stoned, because that's the kind of line that I draw. And because I have a very clear definition of who I am and what I am and what I like and what I don't like, it's really easy for me to throw myself into anything, from technology to anything, and just be able to be unscathed. That the shininess, the spark of God that I carry with myself and everybody else carries with myself, not lose that, because it's a very core part of me. And I remember I used to be a salesperson for a cell phone store, and I was incredibly bad. I mean, I was legendarily bad. And one day, Sherry, this guy comes to my store and he says, sell me something. And I'm like, what do you mean, sell me something? And he's like, I just got paid. I need to buy something. Sell me something. And he has this like feverish look on his face. And I'm like, I am not sure what to say. I didn't sell him anything. I mean,
Oh my God, must you have been jumping all over it. And instead you're like, what? Yeah,
other
that's
people
fine.
would
No,
be
you weren't good at
you know,
that.
they're
I'm glad
trying
you're
to
not in
sell
that
their
anymore.
grandmother or a fridge or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know what to sell you. And the thing is that, so I have that kind of thing. So I can go to a mall, Sherry, and there could be the most expensive, amazing, magnificent technologies are available. And I walk by and I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. And I walk right by because it's not something that I care about. Because every single piece of technology that I buy, from my phone to my computer to my laptop to my game machine, every single thing I do, it comes from a core of me that I have deliberated over this, researched over it, and I have many reasons to buy that. And none of those has anything to do because I saw an ad on TV and I wanted to impulse buy that. Does that make any sense?
It does make sense. I think that that is a part of the indoctrination and going to the mall and seeing all the new things and seeing what there is to offer. It's a bait for people.
Right.
And it's, I don't necessarily think that it's wrong for people to have things or that people should limit themselves if they're coming from a place of abundance, not a place of lack. And there's a huge difference.
Sure.
So I guess my question as well is, do you feel like this new spiritual reality that I think and maybe we've talked about before that's coming, because people are awakening to things, there's more technology, information, even if the technology is being used in some ways that's maybe not beneficial, having access to the internet, Google, all these things that people kind of complain about, to me is a rocket. I mean, you can look up anything.
Sherry? Sherry, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you
Yeah,
not?
you started breaking up a little bit. Yeah, you're better now.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is that my problem in general with humans is that they want to buy something or blame something wholesale, right? Like technology is bad, or TV is bad, or movies are bad, or games are bad. And like, there is no such thing. Everything has its own unique reason to be or not to be. And everything, as my boss used to say, everything in moderation, including moderation. And it's like, but like you're talking about, like, one of the things that is a big problem in our society right now is that how teenagers are constantly on their cell phone, right? Isn't that a problem? That's something that people complain about all the time, right?
I do hear that, but I also see some advantages, just
Right.
in a weird devil's advocate way. So yeah,
for
please
me,
continue.
I'm not even talking about the advantages of it. We'll grab on what you're gonna say after I make my point. My point is, the reason the teenagers are sitting at the dinner table and they're texting and they're Facebooking and they're Snapchatting and they're Instagramming rather than being present with their reality right there is simple, because their reality sucks and it's not compelling enough. What they have on that phone is much more compelling. And guess what? If 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, that didn't happen, it wasn't because the teenagers were more evolved. It was because they had no choice. Get people, get teenagers, get young kids compelled, tell them a story, move them, transport them, make them laugh, make them think, they will forget they have a goddamn phone.
Even if it's, I mean, I think that that's so true. And I think that a lot of it sometimes, and how I've related with my youngest daughter is I'll watch some of the things that she's watching on YouTube, or I'll do things with her, and then it'll give me an idea, or it'll give her an idea of something that we can do, as opposed to, just sitting there and watching, YouTube for 10 hours. I mean, she'd love to do that with makeup videos and things, but, or letting her even do a makeover or whatever it is. Actually, the doing, I think, is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the human connection. And I think that is a lot of what's being lost.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, though, that, because this is, again, it's like, this is the good and the bad, because if we didn't have that,
Mm-hmm.
you and I wouldn't be communicating right now.
Absolutely. And then that's the thing. Like, so are you going to use this technology to disconnect with people or to connect with people? That's really your choice. It's not.
Ooh, I like that.
Right?
I like that a lot.
Because, sweetheart, I would love to sit in a room and talk to you in this room together and maybe, share an orange juice while we are having this conversation. But that's not possible. You're somewhere, I'm somewhere else. Logistically, that's not possible. But there are people, most people, like right now, what they're doing, they're hiding behind their computer so that they would not have a face-to-face meeting with somebody. So I like doing this because it's logistically easy for us. But if I given the possibility to meet you, I would prefer to meet you. I would prefer to be in a personal space with you. But the problem with technology, and the problem that children and teenagers and young boys are becoming so incredibly just unskilled as communication, is because they are preferring this technology to the real thing. And to me, that's the whole problem. And, there's a huge problem with pornography, and people are having a problem with pornography. To me, everything has its place as long as it's not a replacement, but it's an addition. Right now, this is you and I, this is an addition to our life. It's not because I am antisocial. I don't want to see anybody. And the only way I would communicate with people is online. That is the problem. And that problem is not caused by technology. That is a spiritual, emotional, societal problem, which with the technology, people have an excuse not to address.
Well, and do you think that has to do with fear? Do you think that has to do with society being so busy? Do you think it has to do with judgment? I mean, why is it that it seems a majority of people are making the choice to not be connected the way that society used to be?
So I'm going to give you two big killers in this reality. I was going to first give you one, but then I came up with the second one. Number one is speed. Everybody wants to get everything instantaneously and quickly. From making love to eating to understanding to even a spiritual consciousness things, everybody is interested in speed, 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 quickly, efficiently, speed, more speed. That's number one. And the number two killer that just came to my mind is convenience. It's more convenient for me to have a conversation with somebody on the phone or on Skype than actually going through the motions of leaving my house and actually meeting them. And the speed and convenience are some of the biggest ways that the Matrix has us by our balls, because we want to have things in a convenient way all the time. And so Matrix is like, sure, I'm going to give you this convenience would it be any more convenient than you watching TV and having a TV dinner? Why would you want to do anything else? And soon enough, you're gonna have a, something. We're gonna have an implant in you, and this is gonna be even more convenient. And so, convenience. I love convenience. I love my conveniences, but to know again, to have that core that say, like my friends right now are going to Burning Man, and like, it's a Burning Man weekend, and everybody's going to Burning Man, and going to Burning Man is so inconvenient. It's the most inconvenient thing you can do. But there are brave souls out there that are saying, screw you, convenience. There are more important things like connection and sensuality and beauty and creativity and community and harmony. But in a society which is terrified of those things because there's social anxiety, then convenience and speed have won over.
Well, and don't you think it's also it's like that old saying, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they aren't watching. There are some freaks out there. Our society is kind of run by psychopaths at the moment. I'm not saying that I have to take part in that, or that I have to feed that, or even have that as a part of my reality, but that doesn't change it for everyone else on the planet. So where does that play in? How is our interaction with others? Is it just at a point where we just don't create that because it's not our vibration? Or do we handle it differently? What's your aspect on that?
Well, we are living in a society which has become incredibly thin-skinned. Just like so thin-skinned, that's not even funny. And Elizabeth Gilbert is one of the people that I absolutely love, the writer of Eat, Pray, Love. And her last book is called Big Magic. And she talks about this idea of defending your weakness. And sweetie, when I look at ourselves, look at our society, look at everything, I see so much of us humans defending our weakness to tooth and nail. And calling it political correctness, calling it all kinds of things, calling it feminism, calling it everything. And because let's face it, unless you have a core access to source energy, it's very hard for us humans to know if somebody's lying or if somebody is, what the energy is in somebody they're doing or saying or doing something. So all we have is their words. So we go after people for certain words, and because those words are all we have. So we have a society which is full of flowery words while cruelty is at all-time high.
And okay, so we have 10 minutes left until the break.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to go a little bit into the words, because you and I have had conversations before that a lot of people, I think, it may seem like old news to you, but I think a lot of people they don't realize how powerful the word is and why it is that manifestors have the vocal open. That's what makes them manifestors, is actually being able to use the throat. Mm-hmm. So explain that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure. Like one of the most brilliant things that I've heard about the idea of words is what George Carlin says. Is one of my all-time favorite thinkers. I wouldn't just say, comedians. And he said, we live in a reality, late George Carlin, rest in peace, says, we live in a reality that we have become so thin-skinned that you're constantly trying to neutralize the power of the words. So there used to be a word in English language called shell shock. That this soldier went to war and he's shell shocked. It's a very jarring word because guess what? It's a very jarring idea to go to war and get shell shocked. Well, and he goes through this thing that I don't really quite remember because it's magnificent. But where we are right now, that word shell shocked with that much power, now the word that we use is PTSD. We don't even use the actual word, we use an acronym, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is so far from actually impacting you. Shell shocked, you can feel that. You can see the ugliness of what happened to that soldier. PTSD almost sounds like a fancy degree from university.
Well,
And
it
this
sounds
is
like something you can take a pill for, right?
right, which is exactly right, which is what? Which is, so if you have PTSD, then some guy is gonna get rich selling you whatever they want to sell you. Whereas shell shock is less, it's less so. It's less,
Well, you
it's
have
less curable.
Right. Well, because when you're using the word shell shock, you're getting it. First of all, because to me, it's and tell me if I'm taking this too deep, but it's the shell of the bombs, right? Like the actual shelling when they were just bombing people like crazy and all of these things were happening. People were coming back just so traumatized. And so if somebody's shell shocked, you have to deal with them on an emotional, psychological mind level as opposed to just handing them a pill like you're saying where everybody can get rich, or not everybody but the people
Well,
that
the ones that want to need
right, the pharmaceuticals,
not
the
everybody.
banking.
Yes, the big pharma. But that's the thing. I mean, this is the idea of wars. I mean, there are so many things which are incredibly interesting about words. But this idea that how we live in a society that more and more we are running away from actual meaning and actual impact of things so that we constantly are, and then we use we don't say somebody's blind, we say visually impaired. We have all these things, and we have all these ways, especially in the sort of a post, politically correct United States and Europe and everything. We use all these words which are so flowery and so non-confrontational and so non-accusational, but at the same time, energetically, the treatment of people is as all-time low. Does that make sense?
It does make sense to me, and I think that it's interesting because it breaks down in all different ways. It's just like the prison systems being privately owned and making millions. The social services systems through almost every state and government is now being outsourced and privately owned and making a profit. Off of the poorest people in our society.
Exactly.
The rich can't suck enough out of the whole direction. And so it's almost like we're coming to a place, though, where when you're talking about this waking up, does it seem like to you that people are saying no?
Well, it seems that is why the American theater, political theater right now of Clinton versus Trump, the whole idiocy of it, it's becoming, it's such an interesting thing because it's look, first of all, two things. I do want to go back to language and really talk about Orwellian language because that's really the core of what's happening. But in terms of the political theater of the US right now, I'm from Iran, so it's like I am under no impressions, I've never been under any impression that any government has actually, how can we put it? Any government has its society's best interest in mind. I've never thought that because I'm from Iran. I'm from a country that, we've been run by dictatorships for so long, and none of this stuff is really a sort of a big shock to us. But American people, oh my God, they're finally starting to see, oh, maybe our government does not represent us. Then state of California, or what they did in the state of California. And when that's coming out and that's becoming clear, what they did with the votes, how they basically destroyed our voting system here, it's really hard to just say, well, this Hillary Clinton and whatever she's going to do represents us. It's really hard. And so
But this isn't the first. I mean, I don't want to cut you off, but it's like this isn't the first time. When was it? It was John Kerry and no, who ran, and it was just, it was like, it was such a blatant, like they just went the other direction. It was something to do with Bush, I'm sure of it. Do you remember what I'm talking about? John Kerry,
I
is that
don't
right?
really know, sweetie. All I can tell you is that I have lived in this country for 19 years. I've never seen anything as blatant as what happened in California and what happened in this election, especially what happened in California. I had never seen something in CNN said the Democratic Party is really sorry. What the hell does that mean? It's like, we are sorry we burned down your town and you plundered everything and put everything, hung everybody. It's like, we are really sorry? What does that mean?
But see, to people that don't really know what's going on, do you know what I'm saying? Like, if because it wasn't all over regular media. They keep things under wrap. You can get little pieces out, but people don't get the full truth. So
well,
if they could come out and say,
it depends on who you mean by people, right? So like there is such a large number of people who wouldn't get it, but there is, with this kind of shenanigans that they did this time, some people are starting to get it because it's impossible. It's not feasible. It's not viable. It's not possible to stay asleep in this situation. It's just it's like they're blowing up the town next to you, and for you to say, well, everything is great and I'm just gonna go back to sleep. It's not as easy. So, but hey, humans have always found ways to ignore everything.
well, that's the goal, right? So we're at the top of the hour. I want to take a short break. Let us get a drink and all of that. And then when we come back, I'd like us to talk a little bit about religion and about spirituality and possibly going into some of the diet and different techniques that you have either practiced or heard about. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know you've done a lot. So let's talk about those things when we come back.
Yeah. See you soon.
Okay. Ciao. Welcome back, everyone, to Elemental Evolution on People's Internet Radio. We have with us Hamid, who has been bringing some fascinating conversation, I think, and really giving some great description on how maybe we can enter into a new vibration and not let the things on this planet really take a hold of us in a way that is actually feeding them and killing us. So welcome back. Hamid, are you there?
Yes, I am. And it's interesting because what you said, it's Deepak Chopra, among other people, he calls what you just said being in the world, in the world and not of the world. And that's really the trick. How can we be here but not really be stuck to this prison? So
do you believe that the prison is on the outside or the inside?
Everywhere. Matrix is everywhere, inside, outside. There is nowhere where Matrix is not. Swami Bhyanananda, which is one of the really cool guys I love, he says that deal is that we are in a prison. We know that. The bad news is that we're in prison. The good news is that the door is unlocked. So I really feel that. I really feel that this door is unlocked because this is such a badly maintained prison that when you start finding access to source, then all the games that they play to keep you in here becomes really sad. You start almost feeling sorry for them and their games because it's just really not that complicated to beat the system.
So I'm curious, do you think that people are on different levels?
Oh, absolutely.
So when you're talking about your personal lifestyle, is there, I mean, how in meditation, yoga, all of these different aspects that people are using to bring themselves to a different place of consciousness, where are you at with those types of things and the way you eat and all of that?
I honestly, I don't really do meditation. I don't do a lot of stuff that other people do, but but I have done so much work the last 17 years, 16 years to have a better internal guidance system and to have internal trust and connection to source. And I don't know if I've told you this, but it's kind of like, to me, everybody inside, most people, most of us who haven't done inner work, is there's 17, 12, 13 burly men who are screaming at the top of their lungs. And there's a little cute, sweet girl who's singing. And that sweet girl is spirit and that source. But because internally people are so deafened, but all the grievances, the internal grievances that they have, they cannot hear that source. And so the work that I have done and I continue to do is that how do I pacify and how do I befriend those grievances, those burly men inside me, so that they can all sit in my internal boardroom, so that they all are respected, listened to, loved, so that they, rather than becoming detrimental to my existence, they become instrumental and crucial. And that's the work I do.
So in helping people in this way, do you feel like there are enough people to make this evolutionary jump that we've all been talking about? Or do you think that we are still kind of playing this balancing game where there's a lot of people heading in both directions, the highest and the reality of what we've been experiencing?
That's a $64 million question, Sherry. I can't really answer that. But all I can say is that we are always held in grace. And everything is perfect as it is. And everything is beautiful as it is. And everything is, magnificent as it is. And it's also becoming more perfect. So to live I try to not live my life in a way that, are we gonna make it? Or is Earth is gonna make it? Are people gonna make it? I try to live my little life to work on my own self and my own life. And I believe when I can get my vibration up there and be of support and be of service to Source and to Goddess, things will take care of themselves. Rather than me kind of worried and concerned whether or not we are gonna make it or not make it. And that's also something that changes every single millisecond. And it changes based on who I am, based on the world is. So I try not to concern myself with that question and try to live my life to the fullest the way I can. I can give you an example. I went to a spiritual retreat, sort of a spiritual sensual retreat. And people in the room were asked this question. It wasn't actually asked this question. People were put in a very complicated situation where they visualized their whole life. They visualized their whole life. We had like an hour exercise. And everybody visualized and how you were born and this and that. And then suddenly they gave the bad news that to this room full of 100 people, they said, now all of you are going to die tomorrow. How are you going to feel? How are you going to feel about things that you haven't done, things that you haven't achieved, things that you haven't fulfilled in your life? And Sherry, 95% of people started weeping. I mean, they started weeping. And I was sitting there kind of like yawning because for me, the way I live my life, it's as if I was to die in the next 5 seconds. It's been fun. I don't have anything that I haven't really kicked my ass to do. And if I were to die in the next 5 minutes, so be it. I don't live in a way that say, well, I wish I had done that. I wish I had this, that. I wish I had gone there. I wish I had traveled there. Every single day, I'm putting 100% of myself out there, having as many experiences and serving as much as I can. And if I were to die tomorrow, so be it.
I think that's a lot of a satisfaction that maybe a lot of people don't have in not fearing death, not fearing what's coming next, not fearing what has been, again, indoctrinated on this planet through religion, government, society itself. Do you feel like that's part of your upbringing in another country, again, or is that part of your own potential?
I can say that I've always been an odd person. I never really matched any kind of criteria for any person of the societal or religious background or national background that I was. I was always an odd person. I always felt really at odds with everything and with everybody. But that never necessarily felt good. I was just my own, I was on my own island and everybody else was somewhere else. And that wasn't a pleasant situation. It wasn't until I started doing my inner child therapy work and accessing myself 16 years ago that I actually started making sense of myself and making sense of my reality and accessing my internal guidance. But before that, I was just really uncomfortable and maladjusted with everything in this reality. But after that, I understood myself better and I understood my own pain and my own wounds and my own situation. And I started seeing that why I have done certain things and started becoming more compassionate and gentle towards myself.
And do you notice then that more, you had said, the things that are happening to you in your life and the way that you're able to start experiencing things has shifted, but are you noticing that within people who you knew before, or is this a new experience of things coming?
I think people in general are getting to a point right now that they're becoming less and less interested in drama. And they're becoming more and more interested in kind of having a more, more serene life. It's so, and that actually is a sign of, you can see if you're with people who are really reaching a different level of consciousness, or are they really struggling with the lower levels? Because the more somebody is reaching higher levels of consciousness, the less they seek drama. It's like, the less they seek conflict, the less they seek just being in conflict and making fun of others and being cruel to others and being separate from others. It's like more and more, and and also we can look at our lives, and if we see that we are surrounded by energy which is all so confrontational, conflicting, the energy which is so people are always having drama and having disaster and misery, and those are the people that we hear from all the time, then there is something which is unresolved within ourselves.
I do believe that that's the biggest aspect. And I want to jump into, there's a lot of conversation in the chat about money.
Mm-hmm.
Because I say that money is a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
That it's an experience. When you're in lack of money, it is lack of self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
When you are in lack of that vibration that is created on this planet by all of us, not just the elite, just because they hold the most, doesn't mean that we haven't all bought into the system. Right? The reason that they're in control is because we've given it to them. So by changing the vibration of how we accept and how we allow that experience to flow through us, that's more of where I'm talking about the lack. It's not necessarily about, oh, you have so much that you're going to become, a Rothschild or a Rockefeller or a Morgan who's holding billions of dollars. Why would you want that?
Exactly.
If you have billions of dollars, you should be fixing the planet, not trying to fuck everybody again.
Exactly. That's a really key point, sweetheart. That point of why the hell would you want to have billions of dollars? Like, what are you gonna do with $1 billion? I mean, look at the situation with J.K. Rowling, and she's no longer a billionaire because she spent so much of her money trying to help people, right? And it's like, there's another guy, his name is Tony Seen, which I love. He's the founder of Zappos, and he's a billionaire. And Sherry, he used to live in an extremely fancy apartment in Vegas, in a condo, millions of dollars worth. Right now, he lives in a trailer park he actually created. Why does he live in a trailer park? Because he went to Burning Man. He saw the Burning Man experience. He really enjoyed the communal experience. And when they interview him, he's like, I'm more interested in experiences than possessions. So this idea of having all this money, to what end? And if you have money, Sherry, and we enjoy that money, I am making a little money, and that money, every single penny that I make, I'm enjoying it because I know exactly what I want to do with it. And every time I do that, I enjoy that. But money for the sake of money so that we can have stuff is pretty much a disease. It's like another disease. It's just that kind of a greed to have stuff just because to have stuff. It's an incredibly dysfunctional thing. And in a planet that people are feeling so incredibly disempowered, in a planet that people are feeling so incredibly separate and separated and incapable and powerless, money is become a way for people to feel good about themselves so that they can say, oh, I am making money, so I'm important. And it's so sad because it's really not the case at all. And people who are, like I have a lot of rich people, wealthy people that I love. One of them is Elon Musk. And, he's not about money. Tony Sheen is not about money. These people actually care about the planet. They care about serving and solving problems. And there are so many mediocre people out there that they just want to instantaneously have millions of dollars. And to what end? To what? It's not even for enjoyment. It's not even the idea of pleasure, Sherry. The idea of pleasure is such a hard idea on this planet that most people have no idea what pleasure is. And when they have money, they actually, money does not equate pleasure.
Yes and no. I think you're right. I think that people fantasize
right
about money bringing a certain lifestyle or certain this and how great it's going to be for them, but they don't realize that if they go into that, let's say they're given $1 billion, just like we said, or a couple $1 million, if they're still living in that same old vibration, it will be gone in no time.
And it's not even, and that's actually, there's another point to that, is that there's a guy, his name is Tom Shadyac, I think. And he used to make the most schmaltzy Hollywood movies. And, you know, he made like really like stupid Hollywood movies, and he had millions upon millions of dollars. He had mansions. I tell you this, Sherry, if one doesn't do inner work, we end up having an incredibly beaten up, incredibly wounded, incredibly sad, incredibly pathetic inner child who absolutely hates us because we are not loving him, we are not giving him or giving her what she needs. Now here's the deal. Every time somebody who has a wounded inner child, every time somebody who's not feeling good about themselves, doesn't love them because they don't love themselves, every time that person is given external accolades, like they're given an Oscar, or they're so popular all women want to be with them, or they have several mansions, or all these things, every time they have them, they are getting them while they're dying, and their inner child wants a father's love and mother's affection and all these things that she's not getting. Actually getting those accolades is going to make those people feel worse. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. I think you see it a lot in famous people that we've all, are all aware of, and that's why they end up committing suicide and all these other things.
Because the more accolades the society heaps on them, and internally they feel absolutely miserable, those accolades, which is going to make their inner child hate them even more. So money, when it's not connected and simultaneous and at the same time happening as you actually feeling worth $1 million, that $1 million is going to make you absolutely miserable.
Which does make a lot of sense, and it changes. I think there are so many people who have either grown up in poverty or experienced it at least most of their adult life, that I wonder do you think that is more of their trap as far as believing that either they're not worth achieving because it's out there, there's money out there, and everyone has the capability of doing something that will bring them income?
And worthlessness is the biggest problem on this planet. Is not lack of resources, is worthlessness. Because when you don't feel you're worthless, you will manifest and you will magnetize and magnify all these situations in your life. I mean, I'm experiencing that myself right now with what's happening with me and the way things have shifted for me. And it was really not rocket science. It has all to do with my own inner work. And for somebody who's on a journey on this planet to actually get somewhere and become more awakened, everything that's has happened to me in terms of my jobs and money has helped me in extremely important ways. But when I talk to you about slowness, to me, understanding slowness or not understanding slowness is one of the biggest problems on this planet. Because slowness has also to do with journey and has to do with play and has to do with accepting grace, has to do with surrendering. I told you I was sick for like a week, and I don't go to doctors, I don't take medication. I would just cough, or I would just have a fever, or I would just sneeze. I wasn't trying to stop it. I wasn't trying to change my situation. And everything in life, if you accept there is an intelligence out there and is having you experience what you're experiencing for a reason that has nothing to do with the financial situation of the planet, rather what it is needed in your own journey, which I have experienced really in a deep way the last 7 years. Then you start kind of, rather than fighting with the reality and being sort of petulant and immature and blaming everybody and everything, starting to see, why is this happening that is happening to me? Not because, oh, the economy is bad, or because, my boss is a jerk. It's not any of that. It's never about that. It's always spiritual reasons for our own growth. And that's what I've been experiencing, and it's been crazy for me the last year to see these doors blast open and show me that it was never about lack of money, it was never about the economy. It was about the journey that I needed to go through for my own evolution.
Do you think that that's where, again, the catalyst that I was speaking of with the planets coming into place, do you think that this is where it's taking people, and I'm not talking about the same journey, I'm talking about the inner journey, kind of forcing people to take a look at the things that they've been creating for themselves, the patterns that keep coming over and over again?
The only catalyst that could really help people is what you just said. The only catalyst is kind of stop looking for somebody to save our asses and say, why is that my relationships always suck? Why is that I am always poor? Why is that I'm always sick? Why is that people hate me? And rather than pointing at this, pointing at economy, pointing at my mother was a bad person, pointing at my father was a bad person, I have crappy friends, I live in a crappy city, pointing things towards yourself. If we could do that, if anybody could do that, and see that it's only about me, it's not about you, it's not about anybody, it's only about the self, that self that is going through a journey. It's not about anything else. It's not about anybody else. Then that's the hugest catalyst. It doesn't matter what happens or what doesn't happen. It doesn't matter if the planet changes or there's a volcano tomorrow and we all die, or we have all billions of dollars. It's not about that. It's about, can we get it in our head, in our brain, that all of this is a game that we designed ourselves so that we could grow as a consciousness. That, to me, is really the only catalyst. And everything else is nothing. And what is important about what you say and about this catalyst is that when I tap into what you're saying, I get this sense of this catalyst that you're talking about is a stripper. It strips away all the bullshit reasons so that we have to face the stark reality of reality of this is it.
And it's the true, and being, to me, it's also looking at it from a true perspective, not playing games or making up fairy tales or just believing things out of faith that doesn't come from us. Mm-hmm. You see, having faith is totally different when you're looking and having it from within. Mm-hmm. But when you're looking at the outside stories and trying to incorporate that into whatever it is that's going on, I think a lot of confusion as well.
It's like I have faith in me. I don't have faith in Jesus Christ, right? I don't have faith in Muhammad. I don't have faith in Buddha. I have faith in me. And I have the right to have the faith in me. And I have shown to myself several times that I can have faith in me. That's actually an important point worth considering, because So many people should not have faith in themselves. They don't deserve that until they actually start getting off their ass and do what's needed to do. Because to have faith in yourself, when you haven't really proven to yourself and you haven't earned the right to have faith in yourself, is disastrous.
And how much of that do you think is ego-based?
I don't know. It's, to me, ego is simply a separate part of yourself, and it's a programmed part of yourself that is frightened and wants. I mean, the way you're talking about ego, that ego really, to me, is crystallized as fear, and it's not even good fear. It's crappy fear. It's bad fear, and because I have an ego, I have a healthy ego, but I'm an extremely humble person because I love myself, and because I love myself, I can be completely humble because I don't have to keep saying that I'm amazing. Look at me, how amazing I am. And that's why I say narcissistic people are the people who have the least self-love. Because if you keep trying to have other people say, oh, you're amazing, you're just amazing, Hamid, oh my God, you're amazing, that means that I don't believe I'm amazing, so everybody else has to say it so I can believe it. And that's stupid ego. To me, I'm like, people tell me you suck, you're stupid, you're worthless. I'm like, sure, whatever. Because it's like, I don't have that ego in a way like that to trap me. I'm like, I work with the source. These little games that you want to play, these power games, these ego games, they're just so sad. Like, they have I feel no reaction to the games.
And is that self-confidence? Is that being able to see from the outside as the watcher, the person that is actually...
I call that a witness, right? It's like when you can be a participating observer and an observing participant. And so it's kind of like having trust. So that you trust yourself and you trust your universe. But sweetheart, none of this is possible. None of what I'm saying is possible without having an internal guidance system. And that internal guidance system is not possible if you have not made peace with all the grievances in yourself. And that is not possible if you haven't integrated yourself. And that is not possible if you haven't gone to your childhood memories and integrated yourself and reparented yourself. And that is not possible. So it's like, this is not something that what this sort of equilibrium and feeling confidence and feeling connected and feeling connected to God and to universe and being able to trust, all of that is a 30-year overnight success that happens after decades of working with yourself and trying to figure yourself out and trying to, and reminding yourself that at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself and I have to live with myself and everybody has to live with themselves. And anybody else is temporarily in our lives. And so we better get to know ourselves. We better get to love ourselves. We better get to stand up for ourselves. We better to get to protect ourselves and have compassion for ourselves. So everything you say about ego or confidence or these things are, to me, they are moot points if there was that self-knowledge and self-love and self-integration wasn't the fundamental of it.
So how is it then that you think people may shift from? Because to me, if you take a look at our government, it's perfectly structured in a way that is a reflection of what I feel most people are holding. And that includes religion, it includes the vibration of money, it includes all of these things that you're talking about that are happening on this planet. So by disconnecting from that on some level, it doesn't mean not having the physical reality. So can you explain that a little bit more?
To me, really, it's about openness, Sherry. It's really, everything boils down to openness. And Elizabeth Gilbert's last book, Big Magic, she says, always use the word interesting. Don't say no, just say interesting. When you find ideas interesting, when somebody comes to you and comes to me and says, Hamid, you really suck because you did this and you did that and you did that, rather than rejecting them wholeheartedly, if I just say interesting and kind of give that room in my consciousness and see how is that I can improve myself. And the idea of the openness, the idea that maybe I do not have all the solutions, the idea that maybe I am not the best person for this, the idea that I may make mistakes, the idea that not everything is figured out, the idea that, as Jeff Brown, my friend, says, confusion is a good thing, not a bad thing. It says it's all about openness. Can you stay open in the face of the situation? Can somebody yell at you and you stay open and not react? Can you stay open when somebody is nasty to you? Can you stay open if somebody is just incredibly flirtatious with you, but you can feel that there may be another thing going on? Can you stay open when you go to a party and you suddenly want to leave, but you feel that there is something else might be going on? Can you stay open? Can you stay open? Can you stay open? Can you stay open to change? Can you stay being open? Can you stay in a situation where you are open and you don't have to label things? You don't have to label yourself single or monogamous or a woman or a man or a person or human or a Muslim or a Christian or a white. Can you stay open?
And I guess that's a huge step, right? Because there's a lot to that, honestly.
Yes.
It seems like, because when you're talking about 50-50, so you've got people running around puking all over everyone pretty much, and then you've got people who are trying to, come to that calming place from within, and not allowing the reaction, not allowing these places. It does seem like, to me, it's a practice.
It's building that core, and without that core, none of this might as well be happening. But to build that core, one needs to be open, and that's really the essence. That, as my clients, I only can work with clients that are open, because I take people through a journey, and in that journey, if somebody is not open in that journey, I have nothing. And so it's like openness is the most important thing. And when you start open, then you can learn, and then you work on your core. But your core is essential. Without having that core, again, none of these things are possible. Because I had this conversation with my client the other day, and I told him, I want you to get angry, not at somebody, which is you have avoided all your life, trying to get angry at somebody because you try to, diffuse that energy. But remember, when you get angry at somebody, it's not about getting angry at. You're getting angry for yourself, for a part of you. Sherry, if somebody wronged you and was a jerk to you, the idea is not to get back at them and get angry at them. The idea is showing yourself, the other parts of Sherry, that you care about them, so you would get angry. And it doesn't have to be angry at that person, but it has to be you have to express that anger somewhere. Does that make sense?
So do you think it's, I mean, to me, that's part of the trap within the being, are those old emotional vibrations that get stuck within our cellular structure, and that's part of the creation that we're experiencing. And so when you're talking about releasing it, letting it go, allowing the expression,
Right, not letting it go, allowing it to be expressed. Letting it go is like, oh, okay, I let go. I'm angry, but I'm like letting it go. No, get fucking angry. Hit something.
Right.
Scream. Go break something. Don't let this go. There is nothing to go. It has to be expressed. You go to the bathroom, you have to do the same kind of a release of this anger or sadness or whatever. Like, people are constantly afraid of becoming sad because they think that if they get sad, they're depressed. Sadness is not depression, people. Depression is lack of sadness. Depression is just like, your house is burning down. Okay. You just won the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay. That's depression. Sadness is actually a state of energy that needs to be expressed. So it's like all these dark feelings that we have and that we are terrified in this politically correct, happy culture of the world, who's hiding all their pain, all their shadow, all their sadness, all their anger, all their shame. The radical revolutionary thing is to actually experience and express all those things, not at somebody, but because those emotions need to be expressed. That is the only way we can reach equilibrium and health.
It makes so much sense. And I think that, and I think you're absolutely right. I think that it does take a lot of expression. Do you think that that is a lot of the shift, though, is that once it's expressed, it becomes a no thing? It no longer hits you. It's no longer being recreated.
Express that, sweetheart.
Say that again.
Express that. It's a huge deal. Because if somebody yells at you and you don't yell back at them, and you quietly say, please don't yell, but then they get you angry and then you go outside and you punch something, that's not where people are. To be able to express those emotions because they need to be expressed, rather than being destructive or killing something or destroying something, that's a huge step. Do you see what I'm talking about?
I do. Sorry, I had my mute on. I do see that. And I think that that is a big part of things. Now, when you're talking about expression, again, it's an inner expression. And you also said something about, not necessarily having to hold blame. Where does that stand for you?
It's all about getting angry or getting sad or getting happy or getting horny. I don't really care. It's just all these emotions need to be expressed. They need to be released, not by holding them in, not by bottling them in, but by actually, bringing that out. And like, you were at this, you were in a traffic thing for an hour, and it really frustrated you. I recommend, if you're sitting in your car and you're frustrated at traffic, roll up your window and scream. It's like, let that emotion release. The problem is, like, one of the things that a brilliant woman said once is that the problem on this planet, sweetheart, the problem is not fear on this planet. The problem is fear of expressing fear.
Ooh, I do really like that. I think that that's a lot of truth, and that's why the other layers come into play. And believe it or not, this show is over.
Wow.
We have a little over a minute.
Yeah.
And so I'd like you to let people know where they can find you, give a little blurb about yourself, and that way we'll wrap up then.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sherry. This was really awesome. You're an amazing hostess. I really had fun expressing my crazy ideas to you. It was really fun.
Oh, and I just love them. We always have such great
Yeah,
conversations.
we really do. We have an intellectual intercourse. It's fun.
I love it. It's the best.
And the thing is that, so I'm a life coach, and people can find me on hrbcoaching.com. I'm hoping you can like put a link on your site or something. hrbcoaching.com is my coaching website. I'm also a web designer, graphic designer, and that's an HRB design. So R as Robert, B as Bob, coaching.com, and HR as Robert, Bob, B as Bob, design.com. And I live for this stuff. I really enjoy, and the reason I see myself able to help people is because I've gone through everything. Every single thing I talk about is my embodied experience, because I have been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt and the matching apron. So I know everything what I'm talking about because I've felt it. And when I have clients, I've had clients that within a couple of sessions, their whole life has completely changed.
I so love to hear that. And I think that I hope that people who are searching will search you out. And thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no, thank you. This was really awesome. I would love to talk to you again when there's
I hope you will. I hope you'll come back and talk with me soon.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
good night, everyone.
Good night, Sherry.